Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, Luka Dončić dominates in his preseason debut. What else went right for the Lakers and what went wrong on Tuesday? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter where you get your podcasts, whether that's Andy's Spotify, that's Apple Podcasts, or perhaps you are one of the 36,000 plus people who subscribe to Locked On Lakers on YouTube. None of these things, Andy, are going to cost you a nickel. They're never going to be behind a paywall. The Lakers fans, all the people, everybody following this team, excited to see Luka Dončić make his debut preseason debut, I should say, on Tuesday night in Phoenix. And Luka didn't disappoint, but did the Lakers? We'll break all that down right after we tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off first purchase. Preseason games are always like weird, Andy, because there's like the game, the score, and then there's like the stuff that you're really actually paying attention to. And in that regard, at least, I thought there were some positives for the Lakers, despite a 113-104 loss to the Suns, in which they were completely dominated in the second half.
I mean, the biggest positive was obviously Luca was back, and that Luca looked like Luca in 22 minutes, 25 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 4 of 8 from behind the arc, including a couple of the classic Luca step backs, 7 of 9 from the line. 9 trips to the line is great to see from Luca right out of the chute.
And this is in 22 minutes, by the way.
Right, 22 minutes, 7 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass. He actually tracked down one of his missed free throws, and that turned into a Lakers score. 4 assists. He had 5 turnovers, but the turnovers felt much more like getting in sync with his teammates that he has not played in even preseason games with, as opposed to anything resembling rust. Like Luka did not even look sort of rusty out there.
These were like high degree of difficulties, kind of score. Like you just read off his stat line here, Andy. This was a sort of, in terms of a guy looking like he's in midseason form, basically picking up right where he left off in Eurobasket play. This was a cruise control 25-7-4. Like, look, and to be fair, Phoenix sat about 80% of its rotation, and Phoenix's rotation isn't that good. But, you know, their frontline players were all sitting in this game. So, you know, the level of competition.
Although Kamen Maljuach, their rookie center,
did he look good?
He might have a thing or two to say about whether or not he belongs as part of that frontline group. He played really. You and I were texting back and forth during this game saying, why exactly did the Suns trade for Mark Williams on the same day that they drafted Kamen Maljuach, and B, if they play Nick Richards at all, like, what are they doing?
I mean, I know the Suns, not to get sidetracked, the Suns are pretending that they're going to be good this year, but like that kid looked great.
Yes, he did.
So, yeah, but for the most part,
and shout out to Jordan Goodwin, who had a nice game.
Also, you know, Luka was playing against sort of inferior NBA competition and lit him up. And looked good, looked smooth, looked like he didn't put out too much effort. I don't expect that he'll play tonight. Lakers are playing in Vegas against Dallas, correct?
Yes.
And I don't necessarily expect Luka to play, but if he doesn't, it won't be because he was just, you know, the workload was just too much on Tuesday. That wasn't the deal. And so, you know, you want to see the chemistry, some, you know, potential chemistry with Deandre Ayton. There were a couple plays where they looked, you know, pretty good together. The timing there. Luka, I think, tried to force a couple alley-oops just to kind of work on that. But you could see that this is going to be a beneficial partnership for Ayton, who we can talk about a little bit more over the course of the show. I mean, if you're going to draw this up as like, let's get Luka on the floor, let him play 20 minutes or so and see what happens. This is basically what you would have come up with.
Again, he looked like Luka Dončić. And, we've talked a lot leading up to this game about how Luka's practices and non-practices and non-participation at times, until eventually they were just spelling out exactly what the plan was. We both had a bit of concern about, is Luka okay? And by the way, we are not the only people who cover this team.
Nope.
One that as well. He looked really good. Neither one of us would have expected him to go, completely balls to the walls in a preseason game, especially knowing the way he is going to have to lift up a lot, even by Luka lifting standards without LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that he is treating this with the appropriate amount of pace, but you also want him to get the appropriate amount of work to make this worth his time in the first place. And in that sense, like you said, this was pretty much exactly how you would want to draw it up. We were not even a half in the books of Luka's preseason debut, and he was jawboning a ref over a non-call. And I'm like, we are so back, baby. Yelling at the refs.
I think, you could see there are just certain things you can see the difference. I mean, JJ Redick pointed it out in his on his way to halftime interview on Spectrum Sportsnet. Like the Lakers, you could see the difference in their pace, those Luka Dončić push ahead outlet passes and stuff. You miss that because, not only is Luka a great rebounder, he is excellent at getting the ball up the floor, in that, with one big outlet pass. And that just speeds the Lakers offense up. It leads to easy baskets. It helps facilitate good pace throughout, the time that he's on the floor. And there's a tangible difference when Luka Dončić is playing for your team. And so that part looked good. I thought too, the other guy who obviously shined for the Lakers, and this is the offensive combo that everybody is going to be looking at now, the partnership that everybody's going to be looking at with LeBron out for at least 10 to 15, possibly even 20 games or whatever this turns out to be, is the Austin Reaves, Luka Dončić pairing. AR was fantastic. 8 of 16 from the floor, 7 of 8 from the line. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. And so, 50 points between the two of those guys. They looked very comfortable together. And Reaves just continues to have a great, particularly offensive preseason. His handle looks, sharp, comfortable changing speed, all this stuff. I mean, Reaves just had another really good game.
25 points, 8 of 16 from the field, got to the line 8 times. So between him and Luka, that's 17 trips to the line. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, did have 4 turnovers, but also a steal and a block. There were a few times where I thought Austin, and this is still, I think, one of the things Austin needs to work on as a player, where he had a few too many dribbles and dribbled himself into trouble and had some difficulty getting out of it. Like there was a possession that turned into a 24-second violation because Austin dribbled himself into trouble, then had to frantically kicked it out to Jake LaRavia, who also then, maybe they share an agent, so this is just something they do. He dribbled himself into trouble and eventually had to kick the ball out to Christian Coloco with like 1.7 left on the clock, well past the three-point line. You can only imagine how that went. 24-second violation. But yes, by and large, certainly on the offensive end of things, Austin has looked quite good in this preseason. There are areas, and I think sort of emblematically, when the backcourt of Jared Butler and Jordan Goodwin put up 59 points. It's not obviously all on Austin and Luka, and some of this actually happened when both of them weren't even playing. But I think it is emblematic of some of the defensive concerns that people, including myself, have talked about with the two of them. But if you are looking for a team that has the foundation to be excellent offensively, and you hope can do somewhere between good enough and actually surprisingly good defensively, the offensive part is covered with Luca and Austin. Like, that is going to be, I think, often very, very prolific.
Yeah, and I mean, the Lakers, they were up by 10 at the half. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they were playing outstanding defense throughout the first half, but they were still up, but particularly in the second, they I think were pretty aggressive and attentive in the first quarter, got a little looser in the second. Phoenix took a ton of threes and made a bunch. And that'll obviously makes a difference. And some of that's just good shooting, but it was really the third quarter where the game got away from the Lakers. Some of that with the starters on the floor, much of it without. It's worth noting as well, the Lakers, and we'll talk about this before the end of the show, certainly over the course of the week, as we wrap up the preseason, played without Rui, without Gabe Vincent, and without Jared Vanderbilt.
Or Jackson Hayes.
And Jackson Hayes. So I say that not to say the Lakers were missing a bunch of their guys too. I say that only to note that this was not really a full dress rehearsal as it seemed like it might be. One guy who was on the floor making his debut beyond Luca was Marcus Smart. Let's talk about him now.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people cannot name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether you're talking about 401ks, properties, or investments. And if you don't have a full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's why you got Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool, bringing your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. And it's built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances because it ain't fun and it can be kind of daunting, Monarch Money is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. So you link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart characterization of your spending, and you can feel in control without touching a spreadsheet. Like, as an example, my daughter started high school. I'm already thinking about college and tuition and dorm expenses. And again, that stuff is daunting, but Monarch Money can help me streamline my spending, figure out areas I can be more efficient, maybe not even spend it all, and you create a plan for the future. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA.
Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season, it's officially here, Andy, and nothing beats being in the arena for these opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a headache. It can also be expensive. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices jumping all around. But for checkout, you get there and the price that you thought you were paying is not the price that you actually are paying. It's very frustrating when all you want to do is get in the building and cheer for your team. And that's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's the ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love using the Game Time app. My kids and I use it particularly for soccer in LA. That's where we've primarily used it. Go to LAFC, to go to Angel City. Always getting our tickets through Game Time, often right before the game starts, because we find that's the best time. You can see exactly where you're going to sit, and you scoop up really great deals right before the game starts, and you're never actually paying hidden fees at checkout. So in the NBA, same deal. You can go find tickets right before the game, plan ahead however you want to do it. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25, though not perhaps in Los Angeles, but then maybe if you're visiting somewhere else. So go to take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. He didn't, whatever Marcus Smart has planned for the rest of the season, if he's trying to kind of ease into it or make sure he's got enough energy, he certainly, Andy, didn't use up any shooting on Tuesday night. Played 20 minutes, did not attempt a field goal. So he's easing into things on that side of the ball.
Yeah, his line was a lot of zeros. 0 points, 0 field goal attempts, 0 free throws, 0 rebounds, 0 steals or blocks, 0 turnovers. Which
That's good.
well, I mean, he barely touched the ball, so there's only so many times he could turn over the ball, and he did manage to convert that usage of, I guess, 0.7 into an assist. So in that sense, very
Marcus Smart 0.0.
And JJ after the game actually lamented that Marcus didn't get enough shots. And without being in the building and the ability to ask JJ questions, I have a feeling that he thought there was a connection between some of the possessions without a lot of ball movement and Marcus Smart getting 0 shots. But it was something that JJ actually brought up that he was displeased with, whether specifically because he wants Marcus taking more shots, and I assume that he does.
I don't know what the right number is.
It ain't 0.
So it's not 0.
Right. But also, too, I think
take the over there.
If I had to guess, he found it emblematic of the offensive possessions where there wasn't enough ball movement, period. I will say, though, while JJ thought that Smart offered some physicality and energy and stuff, I'll be honest, it didn't feel, you didn't feel Smart's presence out there much at all. But I will say he did not look to be laboring. He didn't look to be physically uncomfortable or step behind or anything like that. He was just sort of invisible. If you want to look at that, a glass half empty, half full, whatever. But that was my basic take. Smart looked like somebody who did not have a defined role thus far.
Well, I think,
or defined involvement. I'm sure he has a defined role.
I mean, there were times. I mean, I know, maybe I don't know. I'm assuming there are things that probably didn't happen that would have made it easier for Smart to be more aggressive offensively, get a few more touches, get a better feel, whatever it might be. There were also plenty of opportunities for Smart to shoot, and he didn't. And so, I think this was a get-in kind of game for Smart. Get on the floor, move around a little bit, get some defensive possessions, get a sweat on, and see how everything feels. I don't think this is what we're going to see. I certainly hope not over the course of the season. I think we'll see a much more impactful player. But this was not exactly, I think, what the Lakers hoped maybe they would get from Smart just in this opening game, just to see how things look. That said, and this is something that I think is an interesting thing to talk about, just in terms of this overarching conversation we've been having about how are the Lakers treating the preseason. I do wonder sometimes if teams, especially when you're getting games against the back end of the Phoenix Suns actual roster and some of their G League roster. In the NFL, for example, coaches now put much more emphasis on training camp, practice time, and like these sort of inter-camp scrimmages where like a team comes in and they kind of go semi-live. They put much more emphasis on those things than they do actual preseason games. I'm wondering if something similar is happening in the NBA. And I'd love to ask JJ this question, where teams put much more stock in what they do. I don't know the answer. Inside the building, in these inter-squad kind of scrimmages where they go full speed, full contact, they bring in referees for these things. Like, these are real games, more so than they do for games like this, which is why you see players sitting when it could have been, like, we talked about and anticipated, a dress rehearsal. Again, not necessarily advocating for this. I'm literally wondering if this is part of the evolution of the preseason.
I think it could be possible, broadly speaking, across the NBA, although more teams across the league have had more of their stars playing more often than the Lakers have. I'm not quite sure I buy this for the Lakers specifically because if that was their plan or philosophy, they also haven't fully implemented it because the further they went into training camp, the more they were holding out certain guys. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and it's really, we're talking about Luca, who just
Luca and right. And again, this can be on a case-by-case basis, and obviously context matters. And if you have concerns about Luca, you hold him out, like all of that stuff. I tend to fall back on my general stance that I don't think the Lakers are an organization that take this stuff that seriously, or as seriously as I would like them to take it. It's also interesting, like we're in LA, and we both appear on 710 ESPN. They're the Rams radio partner, so we pay a lot of attention to the Rams. The Rams play none of their players who matter in the preseason at all.
Not a single snap.
And while obviously the Rams have been a very good team over the last several years, and Sean McVay is a pretty unimpeachable coach, they continually get off to very slow starts. There may be a correlation. You may be able to see the logic to it, and maybe in the grand scheme of the season, things turn out, broadly speaking, okay. But the Rams have continually gotten off to bad starts.
Yeah, it's one of these things that I wonder. And again, this is the sort of thing you just really want to sit down and talk to really multiple coaches about it. Like, what is the value? Where do you get more value? What is the risk reward of these preseason games? Because look, I mean, pull up box scores. Like, I got my fantasy draft coming up, Andy. I'm religiously looking at NBA box scores to see who I should draft and where. I mean, it is a hodgepodge on a nightly basis, who's on the floor and who isn't, for all of these teams. And so it's the Lakers aren't alone, but it's you. I know as a fan and as an observer,
I'll say this: if you're the Lakers,
you sit here and you look at it and you're like, could we do a little bit more with these games? I mean,
we need to break in a second, but I will say this just before we go to the break: if the Lakers if that's their philosophy, then stop scheduling 6 preseason games when you're not actually going to play your players, because at that point you're just bilking. You're just bilking fans.
It's a money grab.
I'm just saying.
You could cynically, you would call it a money grab. The Lakers would say they're paying off the diaspora of fans. That's why they play in Palm Springs. That's why they play.
Except if you're not putting your actual players on the floor, you're not paying off the diaspora. You're having the diaspora pay you.
Well, right. I mean, and perhaps the answer
they're not excited in Palm Springs to watch like Jake LaRavia respectfully lead the charge.
They used to go down and play it, in Anaheim. Like that. I get it. But I also get what you're saying. Let's talk about a couple more guys who had impact in this game, both positive and sort of negatively, and look ahead to what we're going to see the rest of this preseason. We'll do all that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and the NFL season, it is in full swing. We're just talking about the Rams, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for every kickoff of the can't miss offer. Right now, new customers, you bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love that FanDuel fits however you want to bet. Player props and building a same-game parlay, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. If you're someone who has a feel for how the game is going to shake out, you can get ahead of those results with a little wager. It makes every game more exciting. Whether you are watching your team or just keeping an eye on that fantasy lineup, so you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
We have been talking about it throughout the preseason, Andy. What Deandre Ayton does offensively is great. They're going to need him to put up 15 to 20, probably, at least 15 a night, give or take, while LeBron is sidelined. Those periodic 20-point games you might have seen when the roster was fully intact. You're going to need a few more of those on a night-to-night basis. He's going to be a much bigger piece offensively. His rebounding and his rim protection are still going to be more important in terms of the grand scheme of things, overall opportunities for the Lakers to win. And he had another good night of that, I thought, on Tuesday, particularly on the glass, 13 rebounds in 26 minutes. So that is a robust per minute rate there for Deandre.
Yeah, 5 of them on the offensive glass. He also had 2 steals, 3 blocks. There were some plays in the lane where the athleticism matchup, for example, between him and Maljuach was advantage common Maljuach. I mean, he's just a springy, quick kid.
And long. I mean, it's like, Deandre Ayton, not a little man.
No.
But Maljuach's arms, like he can tap us on the shoulder from Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, there's an athleticism and quickness and sort of springiness, speed advantage that he gave Ayton some trouble. And I actually think there's some other centers around the league that he might give a little bit of periodic fits to as well. But you just feel that Deandre so far cares about this stuff and that he's engaged in it and that he's gotten the memo. This is what is being asked of you, both by the Lakers and, frankly, the whole league, if you want to continue getting paid. And he's taking this stuff seriously. His point totals have increased a bit over the last couple preseason games, but he has not gotten shot happy at all. Like, he does not seem, and I say this just because this is the knock on Deandre Ayton, the perception of him, that he is all about his numbers, and his numbers really being the points, and the rebounds just happen to come because he's a big guy playing down low. He's not ever parked at the 3-point line. He is not playing like a guy that is particularly worried about the scoring column.
No, Maljuach is his standing reach is measured at 9'6". Ayton is not. Ayton, I looked it up. It was either 9'2" or 9'3". I saw both. Like, when you walk around, you got a 9 foot 2 inch standing reach. You probably think you're going to have the biggest one out there. Like, good God.
Okay, I just want to point out.
Oh, by the way, real quick too, did you see that there are reports that Wemby might be as tall as 7'7" now?
I have not seen 7'7". I've seen 7'5".
Boban said he was standing next to Wemby. Boban is a real legit 7'4". Said that Wemby is at least a couple inches taller than him.
I want to say that I heard on Zach Lowe's podcast that Wemby grew a couple inches, but that would take him to 7'5". I don't know about 7'7".
Windhorst speculated that he might be getting up to 7'7".
He might be. I don't know. I'm just saying.
That is insane.
Yeah, and he also is incredibly focused and determined, and that should be. He's training both with Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaolin monks. Like, this should scare the hell out of the rest of the league. I want to point out this comment really quickly from our guy BC, who is a regular in the chat, and we very much appreciate. But like, this speaks to both like how spoiled we are as Laker fans, but also how you can sometimes lose sight of how the real world works, and even sometimes for the Lakers. I can't believe it's been half a decade since I saw the Lakers win a championship. That's not that long.
It's not, and I feel like comments like that. I mean, I think from BC, it's like it's what makes us fun. Like, Lakers fans sort of are self-aware, and like it's a joke.
But it's
not a joke.
Well, but here's because I remember
it's like there's a self-awareness to it, but there's also an expectation.
Well, also when you win, like especially if you win in bunches, like I think there are a lot of Laker fans who kind of forget that the Lakers won in 80, they won in 87, then 88, and then 12 years passed before they won the first of the 3 Kobe Shaq titles in 2000. Mm-hmm. Then they ended up winning 5 in that decade. So it starts feeling like, yeah, we're just cranking it out to the way it should be. But, the idea that the Lakers never go 5, like, actually, yes, they do. Like, they went 12 years in between Showtime and Kobe Shaq. And I'm not saying this to lower people's standards and expectations and desires as fans to watch the Lakers win championships, what you should always be. I'm just saying it's funny, the idea that 5 years is that long. Well, it's really not.
It isn't. But on the it feels long for Lakers fans, but the flip side of that is like most teams go like forever.
Right. And I know too, like the 2020
the Dodgers are now up 2-0 in their series against against the
Milwaukee.
Brewers, and like the Mariners are up 2-0 against the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays haven't been to the World Series in like 25 years. That's not win a championship. That's just been to the World Series. Although I think they are the same in the case of the Blue Jays. The Mariners have never been. And like go through the list of teams in the NBA who have never won a title. Like, the Lakers, Boston's obviously got 18. The Lakers have 17. The Warriors have 7. Bulls have 6. Spurs 5. Sixers 3. Pistons 3. Heat 3. Andy, that leaves like everybody else with 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Everybody else or 0. Like some of them never even been to the finals. And like, that's what makes, it's one of the things that makes like that I respect like about the trolling that Lakers fans like to engage in. This sort of woe is me. It's been 5 years. I am entitled. Where's my 3-year-old has never seen a Lakers parade, Andy, like that kind of thing,
Well, I mean, sadly, my daughter is 14 and she has seen a Lakers championship, but she's actually never seen a parade. And I was going to say that I think that makes the 5 years almost feel like 10, just because Laker fan. Brian and I have been very clear. We think the asterisk concept for the bubble is beyond BS. It's ridiculous, but that championship feels different in the sense that there was just distance. Mm-hmm. And I think that distance and the lack of the full experience can make it seem like it's been longer since the Lakers last won a championship.
Almost like it didn't happen.
Well, it has been going on 16 years that Laker fans have experienced like the whole enchilada of winning a championship. And that is different, man. The whole experience is different.
I'm still here for it. One guy I wanted to mention, first of all, good for Jordan Goodwin for lighting up his former squad on Monday night or Tuesday night, I should say. I was really hoping that Dalton Connect would build it was not a great game. I don't want to overstate what Dalton did on Sunday. But it was not a great game. But it had moments where you're like, okay, maybe like could build a little momentum. JJ gave him a chance to start. He got into this game pretty early. I think he was the first player off the bench for the Lakers. And was just a non-entity. And like we're kind of running out of time for Dalton to reestablish himself, at least in the eyes of other GMs, as a player that you won't have to.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Reestablish himself to his coach. Like let's even.
I'm less concerned about that. I like whether you're talking his own coach or other GMs about like because inside the building he can start to read, but like the rest of the league's not going to see it.
But first,
it's really important for the Lakers that the rest of the league think Dalton isn't a failure.
Right, but that's not going to happen until his coach feels confident enough to put him out on the floor. Like that is the first step. Forget what you can fetch for Dalton and where he registers as an asset or whatever. He needs to reestablish himself as an actual player with value for the Lakers before he has value anywhere else.
It was just, it was not that he was terrible, but like you expect a guy like that in his second year, especially late in the game or, later in the game when some of the frontline players for the Lakers are off the floor to really do more. Like Bronny, for example, statistically struggles. I think, he's playing much more aggressively, which I love against no matter who's on the floor.
Bronny looks more confident out there than Dalton, regardless of who's playing better or not.
Bronny is more confident and aggressive this year compared to last, no matter who's on the floor, has less success against better players. And then you saw near the end of the game when it was more sort of back of the roster guys and G leaguers on the floor, Bronny was more successful. He's playing the same way throughout, but as you would expect, the results get better against lesser opponents. Now you just got to see Bronny make that next step to be able to do it against rotation players in the NBA. But like, you're not seeing that with Dalton, and it's concerning. Anyway, we'll see who plays on Wednesday night in Vegas, baby, against the Mavs. We of course be here after the game to break it all down for you. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, where you go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers to the channel. Subscribe to the audio version as well. Get the show everywhere you can. We'll see you tomorrow.